Hello, everyone, and welcome to Zoom O'Clock with your host, Tessy Antony de Nassau. Today, I have a wonderful and inspirational guest, a sister of mine from a sorority, Her Highness Sheikha Intisar AlSabah. She is just, each time I see her at conferences, each time I see her really anywhere in the media, she makes an impact. She speaks up with an elegance, yet with a drive for change, a true power woman. It is my great pleasure to introduce you to Her Highness Sheikha Intisar. Hi, how are you?
Hello, oh my God, beautiful, thank you.
It is so wonderful to speak to you, my dear friend. May I say Intisar from now on?
Of course.
Fantastic. Well, it's an absolute honor because I know your schedule is so busy and we have been planning this for weeks. And so this is very special to me and very dear to my heart. So thank you so much.
Special to me. Oh, it's a pleasure and a privilege. Thank you so much.
So for our listeners here on Apple Podcasts, but also for the people looking at this on my YouTube channel, let me introduce to you Her Highness. So, Her Highness is working towards a positive and peaceful Arab region. She is the founder of the Intisar Foundation from 2018 onwards, the only NGO focused on the mental health of women affected by war, using drama therapy to support and empower women to bring peace within themselves, their families, communities, and ultimately the Arab world. Then also, she works with Al-Nowhere in 2000.
Yeah, that's right.
The first initiative in the Middle East to simplify positive psychology into easy and implementable exercises and tools to develop a positive mindset. And then we have Barik, 2016 onwards, the first positive psychology school curriculum implemented in the Middle East, officially part of the National Development Plan for the state of Kuwait, among many other things. You're also an incredibly successful entrepreneur with your jewelry brand that connects its wearer to themselves and grow self-love and prismology. There's so much to talk about. So I thought, as you know, with the COVID-19 pandemic, there has been a lot of problems with mental health, and there will be a lot of problems with mental health going on from here to for the next decade at least. You have focused on mental health in war zones specifically, and have said that you want to implement that mental health becomes a basic humanitarian response. Tell us a little bit about that, please.
So thank you so much for that introduction. Let me take you back to why I'm a strong advocate for mental health. And when I say mental health, you know, if we look at Al-Nowhere, Al-Nowhere is a collective of flowers that blossom in spring in Kuwait, and they make everywhere, they're like little daisies, and whenever we see them, you know, we're a desert. So when we see flowers, it just brings a smile to our faces. And that's why my initiative is called Al-Nowhere. So Al-Nowhere, we started in 2013 when positive psychology was unheard of and happiness was unheard of in the region. And we started implementing in malls, in the streets, on social media, small or delivering small tools that can change one's outlook on life, one's mental, the way they think, and bring in more positivity. And with positivity, one has more hope, one has more ability to solve problems as opposed to being in a negative mindset. So that's one. And from that, Barik came about, and Barik just means luminosity or something that is luminous. And that's what we wanted to do, is to illuminate the minds of the students into how good life can be when they have a more positive outlook on life, more positive outlook on their school, with their teachers, or everything like that. And with that, we've documented, we've done data collection on how the students and the teachers, because we train the teachers by implementing the program on them or the curriculum on them, and then they automatically know how to implement it on the students. And what we've seen is huge changes in the teachers and the students, but let's speak about the students. Their grades got better, their grades got better, their attendance was better, the violence in the schools went down, smoking in boys' schools went down, absenteeism went down, bullying went down. They also started seeing life in a different way. So we've had a couple of young ladies who were suicidal, and suddenly they went from feeling desperate and depressed and suicidal to becoming the team leader in the school. We've seen bullies become kind and become more helpful. We've seen a lot of student-teacher interaction. It grows. We've had teachers who used to be unhappy because they didn't like teaching, suddenly flourish in schools. We have a teacher whose wife used to tell him, "Are you sure you just came from school? Are you sure? You used to come back depressed. What's changed?" And he just said, "The way I look at life and the way I look at the students." So with that huge shift in the behavior of the students and the teachers, when I was asked by the International Committee for the Red Cross in 2017 to have a roundtable in Kuwait advocating and raising awareness of the plight of Arab women in war, especially that the Arab world is unfortunately the hottest region in the world for the past God knows how many years, with the most wars than anywhere else in the world. One of the recommendations was to have more health and mental health support for women and children. And that stopped me, because I've seen how mental health support using positive psychology can transform these students and these teachers from unhappy, sad, sometimes depressed, lonely, to fully engaged within the community they're in, more in a better place, more collaborative, more helpful, and therefore, in a way, daring greatly, because now we've had students who suddenly started their own businesses because now they know they are able to do it. So they went from helplessness to being strong and powerful. So I knew how supporting, I won't say women, how supporting people psychologically can change and catapult them into a different personality altogether. And so I started looking at what was being offered for women in the Arab world, especially the ones affected by war. And there was very little, if any, focus on the mental health of women. Everyone was working with children, mainly everyone's working with children and dabbling with women, but there was no focus on women. And being a woman myself, going through the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait, knowing that war causes so much trauma that it changes. And this is, all research has proved that war causes so much trauma in women that they, without knowing, pass the trauma to their siblings. And so I saw a cycle of violence continuing in the region, and that's not something that made me, let's say it another way, that's something that made me so angry that, not angry, that's something that put me in so much pain that I wanted to stop it. So I started looking at what was being offered for women in the region as in mental health. And I focused on Lebanon and Jordan because they had the biggest number of refugees, but also because both of them have gone through war. And we looked at everything that was being offered, and what we realized was women didn't want to do one-on-ones. It is not our culture to sit face-to-face in front of a stranger and to tell them your problems. Therefore, that was out of the question. And so we started looking at the arts, dabbled with a couple of programs with the different art therapies, and then realized by far drama therapy was far more superior than all of them And so we focused on drama therapy. And the good thing about drama therapy...
I have there well an example when I worked in New Zealand, in Christchurch, where there was a big shooting in the mosque almost 2 years ago now, or 2 years ago now, yeah.
2 years, yeah.
When I was speaking to the first responders and as well to different organizations to see how we can support the families and communities of the victims of the one who lost their lives in that shooting, the same comment was said that women do not like to sit on one-on-ones, that they don't like it. Firstly, they're not in use of it, and they rather do it differently. So it's as you say, and they said as well to me, they said it's culturally like that. It's not we're just not in use of it, and so
because we're tribal. See, if you look at the Arab world, no matter how advanced we are, we're tribal, and tribal can mean family tribes. So we're used to talking to our friends, and we're very social people. So we like being around people. So to disengage us and put us in a room where we talk about our problems is so alien to us that we actually don't do it. But the majority of the women don't do it. You'll have the ones who are more used to it. The more higher, what's the word? That's it. The more open the women are to the Western world, the more likely they're going to understand one-on-ones. But the ones who are not really open to the Western world, because they're more open to their environment, find it very hard to disengage from their family and go to a psychiatrist and speak of their problems. And most of the psychiatrists are men, and that's, oh my God, I cannot go and speak to a psychiatrist who's a man. And I'm very open, but it's inside of me. I like to share with other females, because in my mind, they will understand more about where I'm coming from, and they'll also potentially offer me different experiences that they've gone through that enlighten me to where I need to go, or what I could do and what possibly would work.
Very interesting. Yes, and that also we will go back to the foundation, but I think it's a really good transition to the topic of women in the Arab world. There's a few stereotypes. One, I have heard you speak about the Arab regions and saying everyone puts us in the same box. The Arab region is extremely big, but yet people don't manage to acknowledge it as such and just put it all in one box, as I said. Tell us a little bit about that, and then about the women in the regions, because when we look at the media, specifically in the West, there's a specific narrative that is being fueled, kind of like putting wood in a fire all the time. When I speak about my love towards the Arab regions, I learned Arabic, I learned to speak and read it and write it. And I really think it's a fantastic region with a lot of opportunities and incredibly strong women. And people always said, that's not true. How can you say that? And even yesterday I had a conversation with someone, and someone actually replied, how could you live there? Tell us about all of these stereotypes.
Okay, so I love that question. Number one, if we say all the French from the north to the south are very alike, see, you're laughing. They're not alike. If we say all Francophones are very alike, it's ridiculous that even we think that all Francophones are alike. Switzerland and, French-speaking Switzerland and France, they're not alike at all, or the French. We all are individual, even in Kuwait, and Kuwait's tiny by comparison to any country. It's one of the smallest in the world. Yet, I cannot say that I can speak for all Kuwaitis and know what they're thinking. Like, seriously, I'd be very deluded and I'd be not saying the truth. We're individuals, and that's why we are, as human beings, our individuality is our strongest point. And also the beauty of it is we're very strong. And the same happens, for the Arab world. Yes, we understand each other, but it doesn't mean we understand the language, even though the dialects are different. Okay, but it doesn't mean we're all the same. 50 kilometers from where I am now. It's a completely different way of living. So imagine 500 kilometers or 5,000 kilometers. It's ridiculous to clump all the Arab world as one. So, and you know, the honest truth is the media doesn't help the world understand each other. So the media always personifies Africans as famine and hungry and poor. And they're not. There's so many educated people. There's huge, as you said, potential in Africa. Yet the media, and I'm not going to say why because I don't know.
A bit like Edward Said said, right? Us and them, right?
Exactly. And then the media personifies Arab as terrorists and personifies Arab women as victims that don't know what to do. Yes, we do have women who are in not a good place, but that doesn't mean it's all the Arab women. Yes, we have a culture that can support the suppression of women's voices. And that's what we're working on in the foundation, raising her voice, raising her visibility, because there's been a suppression of her voice for a while, for a long time. And that could be because we've had a lot of wars. You know, women in wars are better off, unless they're soldiers, they're better off hiding because they're the first ones that are being victimized. So it could be this, you know, World War I, World War II, and Ottoman Empire, all of that, there's a lot of wars. So it could be why women were hidden. And you know, when you're trying to what's the word? You're trying to protect someone, you actually also unknowingly suppress them. So that could be a reason why Arab women are, let's say, more hidden than they are in other countries. But also there's other reasons, the culture, the interpretation of religion also is used to suppress women in some countries. It's not true, but it is used. So it's many factors that lead to the women not realizing they're very powerful. I'll give you an example. Kuwaiti women, until the beginning of the 1920s, used to live alone for 8 months with the children because their husbands used to go on boats for trade and pearl diving. And so she had to fend for herself. That's why Kuwaiti women are very strong. So there's nothing that fits all, yet one has to know all the stories, all the background, all the narratives in order to be able to know more about the region, know more about the women, but we can't clump them as one. Egyptian women are very vocal. Some other women in different cultures are not very vocal, but then the Egyptian culture is a very vocal culture. Some women in other countries and men are less vocal. Again, it's a culture. It's got nothing to do with religion. It's the culture. So there's many aspects that play into this scenario of Arab women being disempowered, which is not totally true, but they're not always empowered. And it depends again on the culture, on where in the hierarchy of monetary power she is also, and education. There's a lot of things that sort of pour into why some women are stronger than others. And it's the same in the West. I mean, I've been with women in the West and they're CEOs, and they also cannot sometimes speak because they're so scared of saying something wrong, which is the same as what we go through.
No, absolutely, because you can see, for example, in the Arab regions, there is a lot of women who are ministers, for example, in government positions, like a lot of them, taking, for example, Dubai and Abu Dhabi as an example. There's so many, more than in any other region or country in Europe. And yet no one really talks about that. And, there's a lot of women social entrepreneurs, business owners, and also in the Arab regions, what I have seen when I was there, And I have traveled to the Arab regions a lot for work, but also privately. I have a lot of friends there. Arab women really, a lot of them are the head of family behind the scenes. So the men portray what is happening to the outside world.
We allow their egos. No, I'll tell you the truth is we allow their egos. We are not, men having egos is not a bad thing for us. Let them look like they control the house. But believe me, I've seen it so many times where the woman is stronger. She will just allow him to think he's stronger. And like I look, my mother is a lioness. And you know, we listen to my mother more than we listen to my father. So she controls the house, not my father. But she will not do that in public. Not because she's scared of him. It's got nothing to do with fear or it's, everyone respects the other's boundaries. At home, he'll respect her boundaries. Outside, she'll respect his. So it's not the way the West is, but there's no right or wrong way. If it works, it works.
Exactly. No, I think that's really nice.
And one thing, you know, I was discussing, you know, we were discussing also philanthropic work, and you were just saying philanthropic work. One thing, my mother, God bless her, is one of the most generous people I know. Yet she never talks about it with anyone. Because part of our religion says the left hand shouldn't know what the right hand is doing. So she donates a lot of money, you know, helps a lot of people, but she will never say it. We see it because I see her doing it. Yeah. I see her doing it, you know, from when young, she does this, she does. But it's not something to say in public. Because our religion says you respect the people you give, you support, and you don't. And you have to see it from our point of view. When you want to support someone, you don't go and tell the world, I am supporting this one, because you're breaking their ego. You're shaming them in a way. So when we support someone, we don't go around boasting about it. Or even saying it to the world, because to us it's boasting. On the other hand, it's not boasting because I want everyone to know what I'm doing, so they do the same. So it's very interesting.
Double-edged sword a bit, huh? You want to inspire, but you don't want to hurt anyone unnecessarily, as you said.
Exactly.
Just by being them, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Very, very interesting. It's a really, really good explanation you do, because here in the West, it's often about exactly what you say. We are more culturally that we do talk about what we do. Like for example, I talk about the things that I support, my charity work and campaigns. Not all of them. I do a lot of things that people do not know about, but I do talk about several. And that is the reason to get other people on board, right? And it's just looking at it as from the perspective, as you said, that when people feel then that they are diminished because they need help, it can hurt. And it's a really, really interesting perspective. I have never really thought about that as well. And I totally agree with you. So going back briefly then, because we are running out of time already. This is interesting.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, you know, when you open it, it's like me, I'm Pandora's box. You open something and I just don't stop talking.
No, but it's such an important topic, you know, specifically, you know, with the mental health in the war zones, mental health now with COVID-19, you know, you could talk about this pandemic is war on humanity, right?
It is.
So,
I mean, look at.
Yeah. Please.
I said it is. I mean, the honest truth is, COVID has helped us as a foundation more than anyone could even imagine. Because when we're talking about supporting women to get to peace, because as I said, violence perpetuates, and when she's at more peace, as you said in the beginning, when she feels peace, she She sees things from another perspective. And I'll give you an example. One of our women said before she did the drama therapy, whenever her daughter asked her for a glass of water, she'd spank her, or she'd slap her, I think, or spank her. Or anyway, she was violent towards her. And she said, after I did drama therapy, I realized when she asks me for water, she's simply thirsty. So before she got the mental health support, she thought her daughter was just pestering her. She was annoying her. She was a brat.
Mm.
After she got the mental health support, she was in a more peaceful place, in a better place, in a place where she understands and sympathizes with her daughter, and therefore realizes that it's not against her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
that her daughter is just thirsty. So if you look at COVID and all the everyone now after COVID understands mental health, because we've all, without exception, gone through from either a very small trauma to a big trauma with the COVID, being locked up alone.
Like mini
Exactly. So COVID has allowed, the trauma of COVID has allowed us to raise our voices louder and louder to say, we need mental health support.
Mm-hmm.
And people understand that.
100%. It has definitely helped to break a bit the stigma of, as we talked offline as well, which is definitely also a topic that goes along with that. When I, for example, I see a psychologist once every 2 weeks, something like that, since forever. And not because I need it, because I have a problem, but I do it because I also go to the gym 3 times a week. And why would I train my physical body if I wouldn't train as well my mental body? And it's still such a alien thing for people to think of, to also train their brain, right? And yeah, I think COVID, as you said, has really put or shed a light a little bit on all of these stereotypes, which actually mental health is your new wealth, right? It has always been your biggest wealth, because if your head doesn't work, nothing else will function, and slowly everything will fall apart. And I do believe that specifically in war zones as well. I was in Kosovo as a military, as you know, and all of these other things, have encountered soldiers that killed themselves before even going home, because of several reasons: bullying between troops, sexual violence, just what they have seen, and all of these things. And then the locals, which are, as you said, women and children, are always the ones being victimized first, but they're also the ones that are being abused first. And because they are often exposed more than the male, well, their male family members are. And it's really a very interesting and very important topic. And we experience mental health advocacy campaigns all over the world, and also crises all over the world. And I think the work you do is definitely very, very, very timely, very important. And as they say with psychedelics, I know it's a different way of therapy. It's not art therapy, but in psychedelics, when I attended in Davos, the former Princess Aga Khan, Kalia, she is a very big advocate for psychedelics for treatment of PTSD. And some of the speakers, one of them, she was so interesting because she said, as you said before, it goes down when you talk about a woman, for example, it goes down to her siblings. But that woman went further and said, we have research proving that they have done with mice on trauma, and that the male parent and the female parent mice genetically transfer trauma to their little ones. So genetically, we all of us are kind of like, as you said before, Pandora boxes. We carry so much inside us that we don't even know we have, and which is just a baggage from the past, right? And these mini traumas, mini burnouts can be triggered at all times in your life. And so I think that, yeah, it's definitely time to talk mental health. And I'm so grateful for all the work you do. It's really fantastic.
I'm grateful to be able to do this. You know, someone was telling me today that she was very kind and praising me for being in a position of power and doing something. And I said, I don't understand. And she said, usually, and she's a researcher, she says, from our studies, people who are in a powerful position usually don't understand the disempowerment of other people. And so she was thanking me for being a powerful person, but also connected to others. And I said, seriously? I get my power from people. I get my power from being able to do good, because the more good I do, the more powerful I am, or the more powerful I feel. So it's very interesting how everyone sees it from a different angle. Mm-hmm. And so I'm very blessed and honored to be able to do something, and it gives me so much energy. It gives me so much. It just makes my life so much more worthy.
Beautiful. No, it's really, and I can see that, you know, people see that as well through your social media. So I'll make sure I put the links below the video and the podcast.
And I promise to write more in English and speak more in English, because I speak mostly in Arabic.
This is beautiful, but sometimes I can read it, and sometimes I write, it sounds fantastic, but I have no clue. But I know in your heart that it just can be something fantastic and timely. So please do make sure to look up the Intisar Foundation as well online. All of the links will be below for you to review under the podcast and the YouTube channels. So, my dearest Intisar, our time has run out really quite a lot.
I know, it's very quick.
It's already time, but thank you so much. Make sure I share everything relevant that we have discussed. And if there's anything else you want to add, I can always add it below the video and the podcasts. For everyone else, please be engaged. Your mental health is your wealth. And Her Highness as well, with her foundation, needs your help too. Get in touch. If you want to learn more, go on the website, talk about it. Is it for the Arab regions? But also some programs, such as the therapy that you're doing, can be implemented in other regions too. So if you're interested, please do get in touch with Her Highness. She is speaking at numerous conferences all day long as well. So you can really get to know her and her work very strongly. If you want. I certainly do. And yeah, thank you so much, Intisar, for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, my sweetheart. Thank you. I appreciate this. Amazing. You too. Take care.
And for everyone else, yeah, share if you care, comment, rate, and please do subscribe, because only like that are we able to share this podcast to more people around the world. We're the first in Luxembourg and Germany. We're the top 5 in America, Russia, Japan, and other regions. And that's all thanks to you and your love and support towards Zoom O'Clock. So thank you so much. And until we meet again, dear Intisar, have a good day.